Hello, everybody, and welcome to the newest episode of Legends of LOR. I am joined once again for the first time by Frenchie.
Hello, it's me, Frenchie. First time chatter.
Yeah, Frenchie's been here a lot lately. It turns out, for even though it's his first time, but yeah, we've had now a full week with the brand new expansion. It's been pretty interesting to see how things have developed. So this week we're putting on talking about our tier list and how we fared there. Talk about some the release of a brand new Targon Champions expansion that we didn't talk about, and then we could talk about some of the funny gameplay moments that we've had this patch. So I guess we can start with our tier list.
Surely, Dragon, more than one of the cards got tested this meta.
Surely, if I have a question, have you ever ranked a card number 1 but still underranked it before?
Yeah, that is true. We did rank it 1, but we didn't know it would absolutely destroy the meta and warp it around itself this much.
Yeah, we ranked Siren Song as the best card, and I think that was correct. But we didn't think that the gap between 1 and 2 was bigger than the gap between 2 and 10. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that Siren Song has been very prevalent this expansion and very good at this expansion, to the point that it's kind of pushing out a lot of the other decks that could be seeing play, because Siren Song is just so good that a lot of the other decks can't really see play. Like, for example, I rank Swindler's Den 4, and I think Swindler's Den is a good card that could definitely be seeing some real play. However, because of how strong Siren Song is, and because of Swindler's Den is really slow, because it takes 6 mana to get going, oftentimes you can end up dead before your Swindler's Song gets online, or Swindler's Den gets online, and it's not really worth it. Plus, you're playing Bilgewater, you might as well be playing Siren Song instead, because it's better. Exactly. Or you might as well be playing Siren Song in your Swindler's Den deck, so you're still playing Siren Song.
You're kind of not winning the game if you slam a landmark in 6, and your opponent slams a 2020 Zolani on turn 7.
Yeah, especially since Swindler's Den's probably not. Swindler's Den wants you to be proactive, so you're probably not playing very many reactive spells or answers. So you're not going to answer that. But looking at the other cards, I would say Deck Hunter is the one we probably rated too highly compared to how it's paired out. Again, I think it's probably because Deck Hunter doesn't really fit with the Siren Song game plan, so it's hurting from that. And there hasn't really been a deck that emerges that wants to play it. Like Nico wants to. It's one of the best cards in Nico, but Nico is not really that strong right now. So Deck Hunter seeing no play isn't really seeing play because of that. And then the slower, more controlling Bilgewater decks just don't really exist right now. And even if they do, they probably want other cards over Siren Song because they're spell based, or Deck Hunter because they're spell based.
Yeah, usually whatever Bilgewater decks currently exist in the meta, they usually orient themselves around being the one-drop archetype with Siren Song, like Jinx Teemo, which runs a lot of one-drops and just slams units down.
Yeah, basically every single Bilgewater deck that's relevant right now is either a Siren Song pile, or it's playing either BB or Swain Alawi. It's those are that's it. Everything else is Siren Song. 2, maybe 3 decks that don't play it in Bilgewater. There's just 7 or 5 or 6 or 7 that play Siren Song. It's pretty ridiculous. Looking at the other cards, Ingvar the Younger has not really been popping up anywhere, and I think that's a shame. But maybe if we see some balance change after some balance changes, maybe he'll start seeing some more play. Portal Scholars now starting to finally see some more play. So we've got decks like Jin Nar popping up. More Nora piles are popping up to try and counteract the Zolani, because you just put out enough units to block their aggression, then you play an answer to Zolani, and then you just win the game. So Portal Scholars showing up more there. So Portal Scholars doing quite well. All-Seeing Oracle, we have that card really highly. I think it's okay. I think the biggest problem with All-Seeing Oracle is it comes down too slow to answer Siren Song. So that's a really big hit to how good that card can be. Once the Siren Song resolves, it doesn't really matter if you counter the second one. One resolving is more than enough most of the time.
We're in this era where we're seeing decks like Ionia decks, and even some decks that can splash either Avenging Mystaya or right, they are running almost triple of those cards simply just to be able to beat Siren Songs in the early game. Like Karma
Yeah.
said, I know runs 3 to 9 now.
Yeah, how crazy is it that Jin Annie is running Avenging Messiah?
We truly live in a meta.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just the importance of being able to stop the first Siren Song is so significant that putting in an All-Seeing Oracle is often a detriment to your own deck because you're cutting away at essentially spots where you want to be putting other good decks, other good cards, and you're putting a deny that's essentially not fast enough to interact with the major threat of the
Yeah.
meta.
Yeah, believe that once Siren Song gets changed, because I think it's pretty confident to say that Siren Song is definitely on their radar for a nerf and will likely receive one in the balance patch. Once that happens and it's no longer the deck, and then like there's not just like a 4 mana win the game card, I think All Seeing Oracle will shoot up a lot in play because then he's like, you're not as concerned like I have to be able to counter this on turn 3 or I lose the game.
So I think a lot of the cards that we ranked will shoot up in in play rates.
Yeah.
Just because right now, like the expansion that we just had was a very mid-range heavy expansion.
Yeah, like for example, we've ranked Scrutinizing Sergeant on our list, but he's seeing 0 play because the Demacia just cannot compete with the Siren Song files because they put too many stats in play for too cheap, and then the Demacia has 0 answer to Zolani that would be able to kill them. They can't threaten a kill in time to beat the Zolani clock that these decks offer.
To give an example, like one famous like combo, like not combo, but like a couple of cards in Demacia, like Aatrox, Vayne Quinn, which is a pretty famous Demacia list at this point. Usually they like to pop off at least on turn 4 if they can with Ranger Knight Defector and the Harp, the Darken Harp.
Yep.
But if you're against Eve Targon and they played Solteron 2 and then Siren Song on 3, if you play your Ranger Knight Defector, they might just slam down an Evelyn and have a 7/9 Evelyn, and you can't attack with your Arcade anymore. You're just sort of like locked out of your board now.
Yeah, or they could go like Siren Song, play a 1 mana lifesteal unit with like
A 12/10 lifesteal unit.
yeah, like a 10 yeah, just a casual like no, he'll have a I think he'll be a 7/9 Divine Clerk.
So
He'll be bigger than you can deal with. How about that?
He will be a. I am calculating this as we speak. 4/6 there, 4/3 there. So he'll be an 8/9.
Yeah, turn 4 8/9 lifesteal with 2 random keywords is pretty solid, I have to say.
Pray he doesn't hit elusive or challenger.
Or like anything.
Or true. I mean, if he hits like impact, it doesn't really matter.
If he hits impact, it actually increases his lifesteal by 1 because impact counts for lifesteal.
He becomes a 9/9 technically.
Yeah, overall, I would say that from the new patch, Siren Song has been the dominant card. There's been some other decks that have popped up that don't play it. Some of them, like such as a lot of Nora decks have been popping up the recent days, where there are at least decks that abuse the portal package. Like, for example, Nar Jin plays all of the portal cards except for Nora. They don't play Nora because she's actually the easiest card to deal with in the portal package because she dies to a lot of 2 damage removal spells, and those are pretty prevalent right now, like Set Karma, also like Drop the Bomb and stuff like that, or like 2 pings.
Hate Spike.
Yep, so like a lot of things can actually kill Nora. So their idea is that we don't play Nora, we're instead going to play Nar because Nar gives us a pokey stick most of the time, or he gives us Wallop as a champ spell. And Nar can like put a lot of pressure on the opponent because like if we damage their Nexus, then Nar can just get something vulnerable and go after it.
Yeah, and realistically, that one early game portal is not necessarily going to change the outcome of the game. Like a turn 2 Nora isn't necessarily going to have as much of an effect as, say, a Nar that comes down later.
Yeah, exactly. Like a turn 2 Nora could just get like died out like a Mystic Shot or drop the bomb. Whereas a Gnar requires a bit more commitment. Either requires an aftershock or requires 2 spells, and you're usually happy if you're a champion if you like play your 4-mana card and they use 2 spells to kill it. Like I don't think that deck particularly cares about Jhin or Gnar. I think they care about Jhin once he levels, but before he levels, they really don't.
I think it's nice to have Jhin only in the, like towards turn like 7 or 8, and if you have a Rex in hand.
Oh yeah,
And
Jhin
really-
is very good with Rex because he stops the ability of your opponent for being able to like deny or avenging Vestaya, which is relevant in quite a few matchups. So we did talk about the release of a new Targon champion earlier, and that would be the card we talked about at least 5 times to spoil it the entire time, which would be Zolani, the Bloodweaver. So Zolani has not really been seeing any play before outside of like I would say meme decks. I think that's fair to say, Frenchie.
I think saying like Aatrox Reaver's Row was fringe. I think it was slightly better than meme, but not like anywhere near meta status.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like meme to fringe playable decks. Now she is like a meta staple and a serious win condition. Because the biggest thing with Zolani, the biggest issue Zolani had before is she didn't have a good way to have you get empowered allies to die. Because like before, like you had Reaver's Row, for example, that required you to damage the opponent's Nexus and drop a Taskmaster to bump all your 1-drops, or like equip your allies and have them die, or have Reaver's Row proc. Now it's just if you play Siren Song, all of your 1-drops that you're playing get buffed. And like the husk you make will automatically buffer as well because that'll die when you play a unit. So then that'll buffer as well. So you don't have to try nearly as hard to buffer.
So essentially, if you think about it, every single unit after Siren Song that you play, if you're playing with the Evelyn package, technically counts as 2 hits for Zolani, because one, they're killing a husk, which already has buffed up stats, and then they gain buffed stats themselves. So, effectively, every single unit you play post Husk, and if you have Husk generators on board, effectively count twice for Zolani.
Yeah, Eve package is quite good with it. Also, some Bilgewater Targon piles running around that are playing it. They're just like playing enough 1-drops that they can just have Zolani procced and ready to go. Like, and are also playing Reaver's Row as another win condition. So like essentially they can try to aggro you down with a bunch of 1-drops that are buffed up by like Siren Song and Reaver's Row. And if that plan fails, they can drop like a 20/20 Zolani. And then like if you're not answering that, you're dying. And then they also have Moonlight Affliction, so they can just take out 2 of your blockers and also silence them. So there's a card like Karma, for example. Now you can't double your spells.
It's a very interesting, like it's quite interesting to see how the meta has developed around Zolani because of the fact that there's a lot of like, so we like cards like Sunburst, which we knew were good, but like a card like Moonlight Affliction, right? I wouldn't say it has ever been meta.
No, I think it's seen at most 1 in some decks.
But the importance of silence has become so relevant in this meta, not just because of you being able to deal with Zolani, but just being able to like open attack and being able to push damage, but just having that power of silence over something like a Zolani, or being able to silence a Karma or a Broadmane, it's become so significant simply because you're running 1-drops, which even though they are buffed up, usually they're like, unless you're hitting your 2nd or 3rd Siren Song, usually they're in the 2 to 3 range health, like in the early game. And I don't know, it's just interesting to me seeing that we're seeing things like Blinded Mystic as a tech option for the mirror popping up, or Hutch becoming relevant again even more. It's interesting.
Yeah, Targon has been doing quite badly, I would say, before this expansion. It wasn't really seeing much relevant play. A lot of its best champions got rotated, like Zoe and Aphelios, and like the ones that were left aren't. Like Tilia Malphite is a deck that exists that you can play that you really shouldn't.
Well, Pantheon is still around.
Yeah, Pantheon's still around, but like Varus received nerfs, so that pairing got hit a little bit, and then his other pairing with Akshan hasn't been that good either. Nemasia's pairing isn't amazing either. So like Targon has been in a bit of a rough spot, So silence hasn't really been that relevant for quite some time. So like now that Zolani is out, it's really important that you have a way to answer her, and silence is one of the more efficient ways because like kill effects do exist. Like kill effects are pretty expensive. That would like actually kill Zolani can be pretty expensive or card intensive, like Disintegrate. And since Zolani can also get Spell Shield from Husk, that can make things really annoying when you have to kill her in one action. So a card like Blinded Mystic that can get around Spell Shield just shoots up a lot because you can always answer Zolani, no questions asked. Or like Moonlight Affliction can silence 2 units on an open attack. So like if you're against a deck that plays a lot of protection spells, or like can protect their units pretty well. Like for example, Karma Set. If you try to actually kill the Karma with Sunburst, for example, usually they have like they could deny it, they could just tag out the Karma and replay it. They have like quite a few things they could do. But if you silence it, that burst speed, they can't react to it. So that means that really limits their options.
Speaking of Blinded Mystic, I have often forgotten the fact that Blinded Mystic can, in fact, get copied and do terrible things to your own Zolani as well.
Oh, when your opponent condenses Blinded Mystic.
Yes.
Because Condense is also a card seeing a lot of play in Bandle City decks. For example, the Nar Jin decks have been seeing a rise in deck. I want to say I played it first. I played Nora Jin last patch, 200 games, and now this patch is one of the best decks in the game because hey, guess what? Condensing Broadbane and Rex are really good.
Okay. I know it's a decent list, Dragon, but I think you're going a bit too far by saying it's one of the best decks in the meta.
I don't think I am. I legitimately think it is one of the best decks in the meta. I think it is one. It has one of the highest play rates, and it has a pretty solid win rate to back it up. Also, like a lot of decks just look at Rex and can't beat it. Like if you're playing a slower control deck, like for example, if you're playing like Heimerdinger Nor or like Bandle City SI, because that's a deck that's seeing some play right now, you don't want to see Rex because Rex just wipes your board. And you can't, and you have to like spend an extra removal spell to get rid of it. So it's a huge tempo swing. And I've like when I've been playing that deck, I've usually not been able to beat a Rex when it gets played against me. And then you can condense it for 1 mana and do it again. Or condense it and play it for 1 unit mana and do it again. So like you can have some really insane turns where you like turn 8, you like play a Rex, then you just copy it with condense and play it again. And it's like absolutely brutal what you can do with him. And then, like with Jin, you can fill the stack, yeah, etc., etc. But also, importantly, that deck runs Broadmane, and Broadmane lets you actually have like hard removal for a lot of units. It's like the deck plays a lot of ping spells, so you can just like double ping something and always kill it. So, for example, that's a way to answer Zolani because you ping it twice and it dies. And you want to hear a funny story I have about Zolani, Frenchie, from one of my previous games?
Go ahead, Dragon. Tell me the funny story.
So I was playing Karma Set, and it got to turn 10, and I had leveled Karma, and my opponent drops a Zolani. I'm like, okay, that's not good. But then I like looked at my hand, and I had gotten a discreet invitation. So that card is a 2-mana burst spell that says create either a the 1/3 that copies a follower, or the 5/2 that deals 1 to everything. And I realized, wait a second, that's a 20 power Zolani. I have a follower in play. I can copy that Zolani, and then I get it, and then I can just kill them with it. And so I played it, I put it on the stack, and then I checked the Oracle Eye, and I learned something very, very important.
That it has got an exact copy and it's a 2/2.
Yeah, the Zolani. Well, it is an exact copy. Zolani's power is an aura effect. So if you hadn't powered allies die, she's just a 2/2. Fortunately for me, my opponent didn't look at the eye and didn't read it because they played hate spike on their Zolani, so I wouldn't copy it. So I accidentally killed their Zolani. And the funniest part of all is I'm pretty sure I didn't have an actual answer to it either, so they would have won the game if they just like said, okay, you get a 2/2, cool man, now die.
Well, Dragon, I have a similar story to that as well, actually.
Oh no.
So I was in fact playing against a local good player, Renrag, a few days ago, and I actually don't remember specifically. I think he wasn't on Jin Nora. I think he was on Broadway Control, so he was running Noxus,
Mhm.
and this was a match that was going on for a while now, and the reason being was I was refusing to drop a Zolani until I was able to play around all of the broad mains. And I was able to kill two of the broad mains, and on the third broad main, I was like, yes, I have finally done it. I am free. So I play the Blinded Mystic, silencing the broad main, and the broad main is still on board, by the way. I play my
Yep.
Zolani, and Renrag decided to BM me instead of going for what, because he had like the deck runs a lot of pings, and he had a what's his name? Uh, he had a face up second half of Pytos,
Yep.
and apparently he also had Condense in hand. Instead of condensing the Broadmain and killing my Zolani, which didn't have Spell Shield, he decided to copy my Blinded Mystic and silence my Zolani, which was incredibly smoge.
That's
Anyways, that game went on for like another 20 turns because of that, and I ended up losing that game because Renrag top decked a second Disintegrate for my second Zolani, and there was like 10 cards left in both of our decks.
oh, that is tragic, and also it's really funny. So yeah, PSA: be careful what you play against certain decks. I was playing a game yesterday where I was playing like Nora Heimerdinger, and my first portal hit Stony Suppressor, and my opponent refused to kill my Stony Suppressor, so it like absolutely destroyed my mana and lost me the game.
Well, you see, Dragon, this wasn't this meta, but this was a few metas ago. Something similar to that happened to me as well, where I rolled Stony Suppressor against an opponent. But you see, my opponent and I, we came to a truce against the board state because we were both playing spell heavy decks, and I attacked with Stony Suppressor, and they did in fact block the Stony Suppressor, and we were both happy.
Just like this hurts us both. Let's get rid of it. Now the real funny thing would be hitting Mage Seeker Junior now, especially if you're against a Seraphine deck. If you like hit that off a portal, I think they actually just start crying. Well, yeah, those are some fun stories. Any other decks that you've been playing this patch, Frenchie?
Quite frankly, no. I jammed like 200 games of Evelyn Targon over the past week and a half. Uh,
Yeah.
I went from Plat 4 all the way until Diamond 1 with Evelyn Targon. And then it was like around the time that I hit Diamond 1 where Fizz Targon started popping up. And I sort of like oscillated between Diamond 2 and Diamond 1, playing Evelyn Targon. And then I said, I don't care anymore. I played Fizz Targon and a bit of Eve. They hit Masters, and I literally played like nothing else this patch. It has just been Siren Song for me.
So what you're saying is that you did take the plunge and followed the Siren Song.
I did, but I am slowly like swimming away because I've started playing Karma again, which some people may consider cringe.
I used Eve Targon to climb from like because I saw Eve Targon like the first day, like someone talked about it. Like I was playing it that night, and I used it to climb from like Plat 3 all the way to Masters. And I think it's really funny. So I got to Masters, and I kept playing it, and I lost all of the LP I gained in Masters with it immediately. Like I had like a 90% win rate with the deck over like 30 games getting to Masters, and then I just like jammed 6 losses in a row.
Yeah, I saw that. I was very confused as well because I looked at the friends list leaderboard, and I saw that Dragon was in Masters, and I was like, "Ooh, what did he play?" And then I actually checked the leaderboard, and like with the new update, which allows like everybody starts at 100 LP now.
Yep.
Uh, I saw that all of the players, like all of the, I think there was like 30 players at that point, were like at 100 LP, and then there was Dragon at 0 LP, and I was like, "What happened, Dragon?"
Yeah.
Like you were the only person at 0 LP, and that was hilarious.
Yeah. So what happened is people learned that the deck existed and started playing decks to beat it. And I like jammed into like 3 different people playing Karma Set. Karma Set is quite good into the deck because, especially the non. I think PNZ on it, honestly, might be the worst version into it because PNZ doesn't have a good Zolani answer, but Karma Set answers everything else. Also, I'm pretty sure I didn't draw Siren Song or Domination in those decks, those games as well, and that definitely did not feel great.
Yeah, I think the best version against Zolani, like Evelyn Zolani, is Targon, because you have access to both Sunburst and Celestial Impact if you want to run Celestial Impact.
And Blinded Mystic, and Targon's House still in the Hush, and just Hush, and also Tag Out still.
Tag Out is an incredibly good card.
Tag Out is a messed up card because it can protect your units and answer theirs. It's
recalling for 2 mana that generates a card. That good. But what did I want to say? Oh, I also wanted to say that even though Karma Set PNZ is not as good into Evelyn Zolani as his Targon counterpart, I still think I still think Karma Set PNZ is still the overall better deck. Simply because having access to Aftershock is so important in the Fizz matchup.
Yes, because answering Reaver's Row is decently important. Also, like, sure, you don't have as good an answer to Zolani. Like, you have to have a set, level him, and then obliterate their thing, or you have to tag out, or you have to like palm if they play it on their token. But you also have Mystic Shots and High Notes, so you can deal with the early boards. It's also like a little bit better into Eve because Eve is like playing 1 card for turns, and you can usually like they play a card, you answer that card. They play a card, you answer that card, and you can usually get away with that. All Seeing Oracle is also really good in that matchup because there's only 3 cards to choose from, which are Sunburst, Hate Spike, and Siren Song. So you like either choose Sunburst or you choose Siren Song, depending on how the game's going. Usually it's Sunburst at that point because Siren Song is already resolved, but things like that. But yeah, this meta has honestly not been too bad. I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops. I'll be interested to see if they're gonna be changing Siren Song sooner or later, because there is going to be a patch next Tuesday. Because they usually do a bug fix patch every 2 weeks. I'm interested to see if they're going to release a change for Siren Song during the next patch. I usually don't expect that to happen, but I'm wondering if Siren Song's meta warping effect is strong enough that they're actually going to take action now, or they're just going to wait for the balance patch and then make a change to it.
I actually think they are going to take action simply because I believe it was Ikata who pointed it out that Siren Song at the beginning, like towards when it started becoming a bit like more compelling as a tier 1 deck, and more people went onto the list. It started out at around a 20% play rate over all of the decks, and it's just been increasing since. And right now it's sitting at like a 27-28% play rate across the entire meta, which is kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's definitely a very meta warping effect. And I think we'll also get an idea of it this Friday in Aegis, how meta warping it is, because this will be the first week of Aegis this season. Frenchie and I managed to dodge each other, but I am facing against Frenchie's sister team. So I'll have to win that one.
I hope they beat you.
I hope they don't. That'll be one of the first big tournaments I'm aware of that we're going to actually be able to see how things develop, and like how many people are going to play Siren Song, how many people are going to try and counter it, how many people are going to not realize it exists and run right into it. That should be 0, but it probably won't be.
Okay. If somebody in Aegis brings like completely ignores the fact that Siren Song exists, I'll just be impressed.
I'm bringing triple Demacia this week, guys.
Surely nothing can go wrong if I bring triple Demacia.
Yeah. Fun fact: I think Demacia is probably the worst region this patch because Demacia gets out Demacia'd by Siren Song.
So I actually slightly disagree with that, and I think the worst region technically is Bilgewater, simply because there are no non-Siren Song Bilgewater decks.
Frenchie, I
It's
literally said that Alawi Swain existed at the beginning of this show, and there's also another deck that I said earlier. There's also the BB decks; those exist.
okay, sure, but okay, tell me this, Dragon. How good does Alawi like? What portion of the meta is actually Alawi Swain and
Oh,
BB?
it was greater than 1%. I would be actually shocked. You know what? Because I said that. Oh, I actually wait. Hang on a second. Wait, Alawi Swains on AR is like 2%. Also, Lurk that exists.
Wait, why does Lurk have a positive win rate and a 2.5% play rate? That shouldn't be right.
Because it's Lurk. Also, there's Deep. There's still people coping on that.
That the deep aficionados are still like mulling over how to optimize that like 4 years in.
Yeah, the way to optimize that deck is all you do to optimize that deck is take out the Shadow Isles cards, take out the Bilgewater, take out all the cards that say Deep. Then you just take out the rest of those cards, then you build a different deck instead. That's the best way to play Deep.
But the only point that I wanted to make about Bilgewater like being pseudo bad is that if you're ever like in the Bilgewater region, you always think to yourself, what should I play? And it always ends up, I guess, unless you're playing Alawi Swain, it always gets up being pointed back towards Siren Song or Reaver's Row. And I am going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that Lurk isn't Lurk is such an insular archetype, you really can't consider it to be Bilgewater.
I mean, I think there are enough other Bilgewater decks running around that isn't just always Siren Song. I mean, it probably should be, but it's not always going to be that. Like, there's some Mirror decks that could not be playing it, that are playing the older version or the updated version that's playing it. Like, I think there is still some variety in Bilgewater. Whereas, like, Demacia is not doing so hot right now. Like, the best Demacia deck right now is, I believe, Scouts.
Scouts or Shenjarvan. It's one of those, so I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, like there's 5 Demacia decks showing up on AR right now, and only Scouts has like a 55% win rate, and there's like Kaisa is like 51, and then everything else is negative win rate. There's also those copers who are playing Aurelion Soul Shavana. But yeah, I think if you're discounting that, I think Demacia is still probably the worst region right now because this is not a very friendly meta for them because of like all the stats. Like they are the stats region and they're getting outstatted right now.
It is smoked for the Demacia players. We can pour one out for Marshall.
Yeah. I mean, hey, hey, you know what? If he's a stats guy, he'll just move on to Reaver's Row and call it a day.
True. If you think about it, well, actually no. My comparison is going to be wrong.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that was pretty solid. Anything else you want to talk about for today, Frenchie, or do you want to get to wrapping things up for today?
I think we can get to wrapping things up for today.
Yeah, so this Friday we'll be playing in Aegis. I'm excited for that. First week of that's going to be happening. I believe I'll be helping with the recap show for that, so that I'll be busy with that. This last Aegis season, I was doing the recap show every week, and I just like kind of only did that and didn't do an episode. So you're wondering why I was disappeared for a month. That was why. Yeah, this time around I'm going to try to actually do Aegis and this still. So hopefully don't go forget about this existing for a month again.
To our lovely viewers, don't worry. If he forgets, I'll remind him.
And don't worry, viewers, I know how to mute Frenchie, so it's all good.
Damn, smudge.
Well, yeah, don't worry. Thank you all for listening. We will see all of you in the future and have a great rest of your day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.